Grant and Glenn here from Yamaha, excited to be with you today to launch some brand new Yamaha outboards.
Yeah, the Yamaha engineers have really set the benchmark again in high horsepower offshore outboard motors with an exciting new V6 F225, F250 and F300.
Now we're going to go into these engines in a lot of detail, but firstly I just want to say how great do these engines look?
Yeah, if you're familiar with our XTO offshore outboard motors, you'll know that the engineers got a lot of positive feedback. So what they've done is they've grabbed that same design, brought it into our V6 range, and how good does it look? We've got some pretty cool sleek styling, some raised Yamaha chrome graphics, and they really look the part.
And for the first time we've actually got our Snitch Yamaha grey as well as a pearlescent white. Now these are going to look great across a whole range of boats. So Glenn, these engines have got a stack of new features that boaties are going to absolutely love, but before we go through those in detail, I want to talk about the history of Yamaha V6 outboards in the offshore space.
This is going to make us sound a bit old, Grant, but we've been here for a fair while. You may remember our 3.3 litre F225 and F250, and then the most significant change to the F250 then is it then came with digital throttle and digital shift. That was a real game changer for us because we moved away from the traditional control cables, making them more reliable. But the engineers go to the market and they interview thousands of end users and they wanted something a little bit more. They wanted something that was more fuel efficient, they wanted something with more power, more torque, but they also wanted something with lighter weight.
Now, we're going to talk about the previous generation of V6, and the word that's going to come up is plasma fused sleeveless cylinders. Now, previously that had been a technology only found in high-performance sport cars, but we were able to introduce that into the marine space.
Yeah, that was the real game changer because Yamaha were the first one to introduce it into the marine market. And what that was enabling the engineers to do is to create a bigger bore, but by removing the steel cylinder sleeve, giving it more capacity, more torque, more power, but holding its incredibly reliable status of what Yamaha was always renowned for, and giving it something that was totally unique and special for Yamaha.
Now we've got recreational users and commercial users with those engines with absolutely thousands of hours on them. From the moment that V6 engine hit Australian and New Zealand shores, it completely dominated the market.
Yeah, not only did it dominate the fishermen in the offshore powerboat world, but equally the government, tourism and rescue groups really took a grip of that motor as well. And in fact, racking up thousands and thousands of trouble-free hours.
Okay Glenn, so that brings us up to today with the launch of these brand new outboards.
Yeah, exactly, so the engineers went out and spoke to the end users, the operators in fact, and tried to get some really cool benchmark ideas of what they wanted in the new V6. So while they wanted to keep some things pretty much remaining the same, they actually wanted some more things integrated into the new range of outboards.
Now Glenn, we launched our XTO 2 years ago, which is our 425 horsepower flagship outboard. Some of those features have come down the range into this V6.
Yeah, exactly. So the first thing you're probably looking at, as much as I am, is we go straight to these things here, which is the integrated steering that are now going to be available in the 250 and F300 range.
Built-in digital electric steering, what is it?
Anything that you've become familiar with in the past that steers an outboard motor, this changes everything. So there is no hydraulic cylinder, there's no hydraulic hoses. If you want power assist, there's no electric pump in the boat that then powers the hydraulic ram. It's gone. The helm, the traditional helm that has hoses coming out the back, it's all gone with Yamaha's own digital electronic steering.
And so what is this steering going to mean to the skipper?
Yeah, that's a really good question because this is what it comes down to, what the skipper, what the operator or the end user wants. So he's now got the ability to do things like change the amount of turns from lock to lock just by the gauge on the dashboard. He can also change the friction of the steering. He can even make it variable to the speed that he's doing. But most importantly is the ultimate in smoothness and the ultimate in reliability. It becomes a general inspection component when you service the outboard. So the longevity of this steering is what they're really aiming for, and it's an improvement of these outboards like that's out of sight.
Now you're talking about hoses and pumps and hydraulics. Sounds complicated in terms of installation. What are we talking about in terms of installation with integrated digital electric steering?
Yeah, excellent, because when you put this on the back of the boat, other than the wiring harness and the battery harnesses, which are traditionally mounted on the outboard motor, that is it, because there is nothing that goes into the back of the boat. So we're also talking about space saving, but from an installation point of view, just how easy this is because it is built in.
But Glenn, let's say I've got my boat already set up. I love the DES system, but I want to repower and I've already got traditional steering on my boat. What can I do?
Yeah, good question. So what we've got available to the people that would like to use their existing steering is in the traditional grey colour. Through 225, 250 and 300, you can buy the non-built-in steering model. The new built-in electric steering comes in both the pearlescent white and also Yamaha's traditional grey in the F250 and F300 model lineup. And the non-built-in steering model comes in Yamaha's traditional grey in the F225, F250 and F300 model range. So you've got the best of both worlds covered right off. But let's focus on the digital electronic steering today, because what we've spoken about is how you can control it from the dashboard, but we haven't spoken yet about integration, and there's some really cool features for the skipper that I'd like to go through now.
Integration is such an important part of all our new engine development, and it's a word you use a lot, but what do you mean by integration?
Integration is the forefront of our engineering. So with Helmmaster EX, it comes in multiple levels. Now, Helmmaster EX, just to recap on that, is a complete boat control system, starting with steering, moving up to autopilot, but then the joystick for the full maneuverability platform. So let's go back to the steering component, now with the steering automatically built in to the engine. Okay, so we're talking about some serious time savings, some serious integration with the steering bolted into the outboard already, rather than having to bolt it on.
Okay, so with the steering fitted as part of the engine, we can also upgrade that Helmmaster EX to autopilot and then also full joystick maneuverability. And there's a whole heap of stuff that joystick maneuverability package does that people are going to be really interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you have to imagine now that with the simplicity of what Helmmaster EX with our integrated systems is the ability to be able to activate autopilot and head to your favourite fishing spot. But it's what happens when you arrive at your favourite fishing spot which sets this stuff right apart from the others. And that is the ability to hit a fish point feature button. So with Twins, we've now got the ability where two engines can operate independently to be able to hold you on the mark. So you are fishing straight away as soon as you arrive. The coolest thing about Helmmaster EX, and the one that's grabbed the attention of so many people, is the ability to do it with a single engine. So you've now got the ability, single V6, drive to your spot on autopilot, hit a fish point feature, be able to remain on the same spot and fish, but there are cool features with this outboard motor which enhances that and makes it even better.
Okay, Glenn, I can tell you're pretty excited about this, and I can tell you're trying to lead us towards some enhanced manoeuvrability characteristics of this new gear case.
Yeah, exactly right. Look, we've all spent some time on the XTO here in Yamaha, and we know how good it works and how efficient it works in any of the point modes with Helmmaster EX, and there's a reason why. The exhaust gas on the XTO underneath 2,500 RPM actually comes out above the cav plate. So what that means is that with no exhaust coming out around the propeller, giving you a good positive drive. Now, with Helmmaster EX, we know how important it is that in reverse, it gets good clean water. So to be able to operate underneath 2,500 revs and have positive water with exhaust gases coming out above the cav plate, it's just a match made in heaven, and it works so much better.
And now we've got that on our 225, 250 and 300 offshore series. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I cannot wait to get these out on the water, get into that fish point mode and just see how much better it is in the V6, because I'm expecting the same results as the XTO.
All right, Glenn, sometimes a feature comes along on an engine that we weren't expecting and we didn't even know we needed. This new total tilt system is pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly right. That gives you the ability now to double click on the tilt up button and the motor will tilt all the way up, but it will stop where you need it to stop with a preset tilt limiter system. Then, to make it even better, you can double click on the down button and it will automatically tilt all the way down until the top of the trim ram. So it's giving you greater control, but with more ease to use.
Sounds great, Glenn. Now, also, I'm looking at this tilt system in this bracket, and this looks completely different to anything we've seen before. What does this bracket do?
Yeah, we've got bigger boats now that are staying on the water in marinas, and what the customers wanted is some clearance between the bottom of the gear case and the water, easier maintenance and better protection of the outboard. So with this new midsection bracket, we're able to get the motor to tilt further up than we ever have before.
Another cool new feature of these engines is on our Hellmaster EX system, we actually have warning lights. Tell us about how these integrate into these new motors.
Yeah, when Hellmaster EX is active, there are warning lights which go on the outside of the transom to actually flash to say, look, the engines have the ability to go in and out of gear or steer on their own. But a really cool feature with the new outboards or the new V6 is the ability to integrate it into the cowl. So not only is it really practical for the installer, but it looks really cool as well. Another really cool feature, and it's something that I personally really like, is the dual flush system. So not only have you got the ability that when you go home, you can undo the flush port, plug the hose in and hose it through, you've now got the ability through the rigging tube to run a hose out and run it into the back of the boat. So some cool things about that is, if it is a boat that's moored in a marina or on the water, you don't have to reach right over the back of the transom to be able to locate this flush port, but it means that you can also flush it from inside the boat. Some really cool feature for that means is if you've got a water tank in the boat, at the end of the day, you're able to plug in your water tank and literally flush out your engine while you're sitting there stationary in the marina.
Right, Glenn, so we've covered all the features that have been added to these engines to make them better for offshore boaters, but we haven't covered the things that stay the same in this V6 platform.
Yeah, okay, you can really see how the engineers have taken us on an integration journey, but now you want to get back to what is the basic power plant of this engine, the most durable, reliable engine that we have produced in the V6 range, and this is it. We're talking about a big bore engine. What does that mean? Remember, we went from a 3.3 litre to a 4.2 litre. How did we do it? We removed the steel sleeves and then we used a plasma coating. Remember, only available previously in high-performance automotive engines. We've integrated into a marine engine, so it's super strong, it's super reliable. So the same platform that we've had that's been dominant in the industry for years on years, the customer wanted it, we've kept it, so we expect nothing but pure performance and reliability and torque and grunt from this engine like we've become very familiar with.
Glenn, I can hear how passionate you are about these engines. I'm excited as well. If you guys want to find out more information, go to our website, check out our socials, or go see your local Yamaha dealership.
Yamaha are renowned for making reliable engines to perfectly suit Australian waters.
And in fact, Yamaha care so much about Australian conditions, they've allowed us to launch these engines on Australia Day.
So from Grant and I, that's a wrap, and we'll see you out on the water.